Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Gaming Mix podcast, your official podcast from analogstickgaming.com. We're recording at a slightly different time this week. My name is Jordan, if you don't know me already, one of the co-owners of Analog Stick Gaming. And to my right, as always, we have the founder himself, Jeff Young. How are you, Jeff?
Not too bad. I mean, I had kind of a horrible dental nightmare the other day, experiencing my version of childbirth, pretty much.
Oh, God.
It was absolutely painful. And then new internet.
Which is why we
still not
didn't
working.
record yesterday, which is
Oh, yeah,
usually
'cause,
the
like-
weekend day that we record on.
Oh God, I'm on so much medication right now for this thing to not.
Well,
Kill me
hopefully
right
it's not too bad right now, because we do have, although there's not loads of news this week, there has been some bigger things, and one of those in particular requires a lot of discussion. Before we get to the gaming, though, is there anything else that we wanted to talk about?
Well, I mean, next Friday we can talk a little bit more about kind of the wrestling situation going into Crown Jewel. Because I think the card is fairly good.
I agree.
You know, we'll talk about more of that later. No, I mean, other than that, been pretty good. I bought Superman on 4K there. Am I cutting in and out? Am I good?
So we can hear you fine, but your video is occasionally freezing, but we can hear you fine, so.
Okay, yeah, my computer is just, I think I have to back up everything and then and wipe it. It is just filled with sludge right now. But no, I was watching
sludge.
watched Superman again. It's the second time that I've seen it. And,
so I've watched Superman twice now as well, because I also picked up the 4K, and I really like the movie. I really like it.
What does your 4K look like, the case? Because mine's got a holofoil thing where he goes to Clark, Superman.
Mine's the same. Yeah, I've got the same one.
Yeah, so I picked that up and watched it, and I'm going to watch the special features. I usually haven't in a while, but no, I think I liked it better the second time I watched it. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, Superman is so weak, he's getting punched around and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, read the fucking comics. He's always getting slammed around. You know, there's tons of comics where he's like crawling up from the ground because he's...
And also, let's be honest, one of the criticisms of Superman is that he occasionally doesn't get beaten up enough, right? He's almost like too powerful. And
yeah, like Zack Snyder kind of portrayed him as a god.
Yeah.
You know, and I think like this is a Superman as well too that's like 3 years into essentially being Superman. You know, so he's still kind of learning it. But one thing I like about it is they made Superman likable and kind of relatable in a lot of ways as well too. And they've tied it more into like the realistic aspects. I'm like, okay, if he does go and stop a war, what are the political ramifications because of it?
Yes.
And that stuff is really interesting because they don't cover that in the comics, because that would be like Marvel Civil War, essentially, where there's repercussions for it. And DC Civil War could be an interesting type of thing.
Absolutely.
You know, where it could be interesting. But no, like he does a good job. I like the characters. I like my only flaw, I think, in the movie is when they're picking everybody up to go into the spaceship, whatever, to like evacuate the thing, that no one mentions where Clark is.
Yeah, I know. That is weird. That is weird.
Like that's
the same.
The only thing that's kind of like weird about it. But I mean, like we're watching it, and this is the first time Becky had seen it, and she sees Krypto, and Krypto's like bouncing around on Superman and all that stuff. She's like, "That's Banter."
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah.
I'm in a little Superman cape.
Oh god!
It's
I also want to shout out. I forget the actor's name right now because it's just slipped my mind. But no. Lex Luthor.
Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah, I think he did a really good job. And what some people might not know is he actually auditioned to play Superman originally.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how that kind of worked out. And I think that of the more recent modern versions in live action of Lex Luthor, I think he's my favorite. Like,
Well, I mean, the bar isn't really that high because like you have a Kevin Spacey who's just incredibly toxic right now. Like you can't
Yes.
like, that guy. I think he lost his house. I have no idea. I have no idea. He was battling a lot of financial issues because of the amount of but
Mm,
Kevin Spacey's like that whole Superman movie. I just don't care for. Superman only
I
used
agree.
to get from A to B. He never used his powers anywhere. He also like lifted an entire kryptonite mountain, which shouldn't happen. Um, but and then like you get the Smallville Lex, which I don't know, like there's parts of it that I do like.
Hmm.
When I think back about it, I'm like, I don't really know if I really like Smallville to a certain extent.
That's
Um,
fair.
but and then like the Gene Hackman, Christopher Reeve era and stuff, I just don't like that Superman because I don't like that classic era Superman.
Yeah.
Also don't like that classic. Hey, stop biting your hoodie.
Banter is biting things.
Look at this. You're biting the Velcro. You gotta make sure that you can wear your little hoodie. Okay.
Banter has a hoodie, everybody. He doesn't quite have a cape yet. He's not graduated that far, but he
Yes,
has a hoodie.
he likes it. Says snapping is my cardio. Oof.
Love it. Love it.
But yeah, it's getting cold here. It was like +2 or something like that this morning. It was really cold.
Isn't it always cold in Canada?
Yeah, that's why Canada starts with a C. It's the same. It's an abbreviation. It's like cold and it goes on and on. Yeah. No, like it's Lex. Like the only Lex that I've ever really liked is the like Adventures of Superman, the cartoon, like
Oh yeah.
the
Mhm.
Batman animated series
So you
counterpart.
weren't a fan of Jesse Eisenberg then?
No, he never felt like Lex. Like
Yeah, I
he just
agree.
felt like Jesse Eisenberg,
I agree.
like and I know like
Hmm.
Lex spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched Peacemaker season 2, but it's been going the rounds that there's a scene with Lex in prison
Yes.
and he gets to like unload like a lot of language and stuff because it's that. So I'm going to start watching
Yeah.
Peacemaker because
Yeah.
that's supposed to tie directly into the next one, Man of Tomorrow.
Yes. So the only thing I would say, and it's not even a criticism, it's more of an observation of why I think some people won't like this movie, um, is that I do think it leans at times a little bit too far into the weird and wacky because it's a James Gunn thing, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you got to think like when you really reach into the tapestry that is DC Comics,
Yeah,
like they have like Mxyzptlk and like all these other Batmite and stuff like that. So it's like DC
that's
has
true.
that weird angle. It's just most people don't really look at it because they're so consumed by the mass market media of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, which
Yeah,
those types of franchises don't really dive into the weird so much,
that's
but
true.
they have it.
Very true. Yeah, very true actually. And Nathan Fillion was great in this movie as well. I just want to shout him out before we move on because
Yeah, and
he
he's
was
supposed to be
fantastic.
in the Green Lantern series that's coming out with Hal Jordan and John Stewart.
That's going to be interesting to see. But now let's move on to video games. Turn on our NordVPNs, and for your internet protection, because we this week have needed protection from people blowing their tops about one particular piece of news. Um, and remember, just before we get to it, that you can use our NordVPN link below to sign up to NordVPN at a discounted price. And if
And it's
you
so cheap.
keep that subscription for more than 30 days, we will actually receive a percentage of your subscription money. So you will be directly supporting us should you enjoy using NordVPN. We also have access to NordPass, which you can see on our website on any of the news articles. In the sidebar will be a NordPass logo. If you click on that, it will take you to the NordPass page where you can sign up to that, and that's basically Nord's password manager, which is like I would recommend that more than the VPN personally, and it's not because like VPNs are great, but from a security perspective, NordPass allows you to have passwords and generate passwords, never even having to remember them yourself, right? I have passwords and I don't even know what the password is because they are that secure. Do you understand what I'm saying? And when you're using a password manager, that can really help with that stuff. Um, but yes, I want to get into the recent Xbox Game Pass news. So, Jeff, why don't you explain to people what has actually happened this week with Xbox Game Pass?
Sure, I'm just waiting for this page to load because my computer is being a butt.
It's let's put it this way. It's been an interesting time for Xbox Game Pass
All right.
because there we go.
It
Jeff has
has,
it. Jeff has it.
well, kind of. It's going. Yeah, I really need to redo this computer here.
Jeff's
All right.
computer is dying, but he has the news now. What is it, Jeff?
Well, hold on. It is not. Oh my god. This computer. Holy hell. Okay, I think we got it now. All right. God, it's like 3 minutes just to like swap to a tab here. I don't know what this computer is doing. It's like Google Chrome is using like 100% of my CPU right now.
Oh my god. That's a bit concerning.
I think I'm just going to switch everything over to like Opera or something like that because this is ridiculous. All right. Microsoft has announced a 50% increase to the price of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. This news comes to us from VGC. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate will now cost $30 USD, but will also be getting new additions such as Fortnite Crew and Ubisoft Classics Collection. Microsoft claims that Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers will get access to over 75 day one titles each year. Call of Duty Black Ops, High on Life 2, Keeper, Ninja Gaiden 4, and The Outer Worlds 2 are all slated for the remainder of 2025. Xbox is now broken down into 3 categories. We got Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which is $30 USD a month. Xbox Game Pass Premium, which is formerly the standard, is now $14.99 per month. And Xbox Game Pass Essential, which is formerly a core, will be $9.99 USD a month. You've also got the PC one, which will be, we'll see a price increase from $11.99 to $16.49 USD per month. As part of today's announcement, Microsoft has added dozens of games to the service, including a large number of Ubisoft games to Game Pass Ultimate. And Microsoft has released an infographic breaking down the changes, showing that there are now 3 tiers, very similar to the PlayStation Premium stuff. But today's news comes amidst widespread price increases across gaming in both physical hardware and digital offerings. Microsoft's Xbox console has seen a slew of price increases in recent months, the latest coming last week when the firm announced that it would be once again increasing prices in the United States. The company announced back in May that it was increasing the prices of its consoles globally, including increasing prices of Xbox X and Series X in the US by $100 and $80 respectively. So we've got basically this big talk about Xbox Game Pass. Essentially, once I get back to our little streaming tab, Xbox is shutting down. Come on, let's do it.
Maybe Xbox doesn't want us to talk about this. Maybe that's what it is.
That could be what it is. I think I'm going to load all the news on the phone or something like that.
That's okay.
So, all right. So we got Game Pass Ultimate essentially increasing by $10. You basically it went from $19.99 to $29.99, and everybody is losing their fucking minds because it's a $10 extra a month. And I think what it happens is it breaks it down into a lot of different demographics, because you have people that are essentially barely using their Xbox. So they have Game Pass Ultimate because if things come to Game Pass about every month or two, they will play it and so on and so forth. Those people, I see the value in them wanting to maybe cancel the service or whatever the case is. And a lot of people are saying they're going to cancel it for cloud. It's all that bandwagon kind of jumping so that they feel like they're part of something, but they're not actually canceling. It's the same with boycotts and stuff. It's all talk. Then you got the people that generally use Game Pass fairly regularly, and they're like, okay, yeah, the price has increased, isn't that great, but I'll still use it. And then you get the people who are using Game Pass constantly. They're using it every single day or whatever the case is. And they're like, yeah, okay, the price increases, whatever it is, but look at all this extra shit that they're giving us because they just added a ton of stuff through Ubisoft
Yeah.
Classics. The
Yeah.
Fortnite crew thing for me is fantastic because that is the price difference itself,
Yeah, precisely.
which
Hmm.
is fantastic, and it gets you like V
Yeah.
Bucks, like 1,000 or the 1,100 V Bucks or whatever. So like I can
And
buy
you get the
skins
battle
really
pass,
early,
right?
and you
You
get the
get
battle
the
pass.
like, so
Yeah,
yeah,
and that
it's
starts in November.
yeah. So
So
I want to dive a bit deeper into this though, because I do
yeah,
think there is some nuance in this conversation. I'm not gonna say that people are wrong to be frustrated by this price increase because a price increase is always annoying, right?
yeah,
But I think that where it's being a little bit overblown is people saying, "Oh, Game Pass is cooked and it's basically going to die now," and it's like, no, it's not, because yes, I can understand some people's argument that it's now going to cost you $360 per year to have Game Pass, right?
mm.
And if you only play, let's say, $400 of games on the service per year, then there is an argument of,
But
well, you might as well just spend the extra $40 and own those things permanently.
here's the thing as well, though, that a lot of people don't take in account, is because you
Yes.
have the core service, which is like $10 or whatever, right?
Hmm.
And that's to
Yeah.
play basically online,
Yes.
right? So most people
And they
want to
have
play
actually
online.
added to that slightly as well, to be fair.
Yeah,
So I think they've changed that from having, like, there's so many, there's like even the premium tier, which was standard, which gave you a certain amount of games,
yeah, they've reduced
now
the amount of
now
games.
gives you more, like, and you've got cloud gaming on those tiers now as
Yeah,
well.
but
So,
my point of it though is, all right, so it's 360 USD, all right? So
yes,
let's take that here. Let's bring out the old calculator. All right, so
we'll do the maths.
360, all right? But if you're
Yes.
getting the basic tier, which was like $10, right? That's 120,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
basically you're paying $240
Yeah.
per year for the access of over 400 games, plus
I agree.
all the day one Xbox games that are
I
coming
agree.
out,
Yeah.
tons of other day one games that are coming out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
So
it's still great.
I do agree with you, and I think you are correct. But what I'm trying to say, just to add some balance to the conversation, is that I do think I can understand people's thinking of, because I've seen a lot of people saying, well, with this price increase, you might as well spend an extra $40 or $50 or how much you need to to own the games you play on the service permanently, right? And for some people, that will be accurate because maybe they only play one game here and there. But I'm going to give you an example right now because I'm lucky enough. I don't actually pay for Game Pass at the moment, but I do have Game Pass. Um, and I figured out that this year alone, I've already played 22 games on the service. And even if I average that price to $50, figure out how much value that
Yeah,
actually is,
yeah.
right?
Like for me, it's like I'm not justifying the price increase. I think the price increase is kind of foolish, especially going $10. If they had
I
gone
agree.
$5,
I
and
agree.
then in 2 years went another $5, like
Yeah.
get there slowly. If they would have been an extra $5, I'd be like, okay, yeah, sure. The ten
Yeah.
dollars, yeah, it kind of sucks because it's about 42 bucks Canadian, I think, per month that I'm playing. But
Yeah.
again, if I only play one game on the service, I'm
It still
still
makes
getting
it worth
value
it.
from it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
You know,
And that's what people don't quite
well,
understand is
Call of Duty
like,
is going to cover 2 months of the
yeah.
service if I
And
would have
and
bought it.
and that's what people don't quite understand, right? Is that not everybody is in the situation where they can afford to buy games anyway. So that's the
Yeah,
other thing. For
I just
some people, this is a more cost effective way to play more games than they otherwise would. I
yeah,
speak to a couple of my friends, for example, and one of my friends doesn't use it that often. He might play 4, maybe 5 games a year on the service, but he has children that use it nearly every day. So even
Yeah.
he was like, if it was just him, then he would probably cancel with this price
Yeah.
increase.
And the thing too is like Xbox Game Share allows me to give Becky like access to Game Pass. So if there's a
Yeah,
game that's on Game Pass, I just download it. It's in my library. She goes into the library and downloads it. So
yeah,
we're getting two people out of it for
yeah,
that. So I mean, like
precisely. So I
again,
don't think,
no,
I think, like you said, Jeff, people are kind of blowing this out of proportion slightly. And I get it. There's frustration when there's a price increase. And actually, I think that the one real argument I've seen that might have some weight to a certain extent is they're justifying this price increase by adding Fortnite Crew and by adding Ubisoft Classics, right? But for some people, they will never use any of those things.
yeah.
So for some
Well,
people, they are
it's
now
the
paying
exact
more.
same thing as like our Google emails that we have for analytic gaming. They've increased because there's AI tools that you can use in the
Yeah.
process that
Yeah.
we don't really ever
No,
use,
we're
right?
never going to use, like, we
Yeah.
don't need to use that
So
stuff.
like there's that end of it, but I mean like for me it is just it's still a great value
Yeah,
where with
I
how I
agree.
use it. Do I wish that the price increase didn't happen or that it was reduced in some way? Absolutely. I want to pay
Yeah.
less for as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
But I
Hmm.
mean, like, there is so much. Like, I've seen people going, like, yeah, there's only like two good games on Game Pass. I'm like, fuck you.
That's a load
Like,
of rubbish. Yeah, that's
seriously,
a load of rubbish. I
that
can
is
I can
garbage.
name you right now off the top of my head, right? Day one on Game Pass this year, you've had Avowed. Okay, that wasn't to everybody's tastes, but it's still, a pretty decent game there. But you've had like Avowed, you've had Expedition 33 was day one. You've
Mhm.
had like coming up,
Oh,
we've got
can we
Outer
say
Worlds 2.
Joystick's Game of the Year awards for their Game of the Year
Oh my
category?
god, yeah, I
Expedition
know.
33 isn't there,
Hmm.
but Stonic fucking Crossroads is on there. Like,
Yeah.
Silk Song's not on there.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Hades 2 is
And
not on
and
there.
to be fair, and I'm not against this game because I'm playing it right now for to review for Outer Haven, and that's Ghost of Yote. But
Yeah,
the fact that Ghost of Yote is on there when it literally came out the same day as the nominations,
yeah.
and this is supposed to be like fan voted things, it's kind of like that's just that
Like,
almost feels like you made a decision to put it in there before before you even
yeah, it's like, yeah, it is the absolute garbage. But I mean, in terms of like price increase things that no one's really even talking about is the fact that the new PlayStation digitals that are coming out are
Yeah,
having a smaller hard drive, and you already have from 1 gigs down to about 800 after
yeah,
install. You're gonna have
yeah.
600 or 800 gigs down to 600 gigs after
So they're
install
going to have a smaller hard drive,
at the
and the
same
price
price.
of those have, yeah. So you're actually paying more for less. That's the
So
same as a price
where
increase.
where's the conversation around this, you fucking
Yeah,
pony?
I know. And look, what I would say is how I would. I said this on the Outer Haven Spectator Mode podcast the other day, but I do accept that ultimately every single individual person is going to have their different calculation for whether the service
Yeah,
represents value for money to them or not, right? And that's why I understand people who like to own their games are probably going to be less interested in having the service now because it's gone up in price, right? So it makes more of a case for them to own their
and I
games
like
instead.
owning because I got like it's like, oh, I play on Steam so I can own my games. I'm like, dude, read your
They can
TOS.
they can take that
Go
away
ahead.
from you at any
Go
time.
go
Yeah.
ahead and read it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a weird one, but what I would say is every single individual has to make their own mind up about whether it's worth it to them or not. And I'm not against people cancelling. If you genuinely think it isn't worth it to you at this price increase, and to be fair, it will depend partly on the region you live in as well. Because,
Yeah.
for example, over here in the UK, it's gone up from £15 per month to 22.50 per
And see,
month.
I'm still even surprised that Game Pass as it was only
Yeah.
$20 a month. Like for
Mm.
Ultimate. I'm still shocked that that's what it was
I
considering
agree.
everything.
And I've
Right?
made this case to some people as well. I actually think that part of this is kind of them finding the status quo. Like, yes, it's okay. You can argue that yes, it's greed because we know they made $5 billion in revenue from Game Pass last year, and we know that it is profitable at that number. We don't know how much profit they make on the service, but we know it's profitable. You can argue that it's greed. Yes, I understand that. But at the same time, I think there's also an argument to be had that they were probably undercharging for it in the first place, for what you actually got. Like, I've always said that if I was paying for Game Pass, my kind of hard line on where the value conversation would start coming in is £25 pounds per month, which is around $35 per month, right? So to me, at least for me personally, this is still within what I would consider a valuable service.
Yeah.
It will, again, if you're only playing 3, 4, 5 games a year, maybe it won't be quite as worth it, right? Because what people have figured out now is you need to play 5 full price AAA games on the service per year to make up the total value of how much the service costs. And some people argue, but not every game on there is AAA. But it's like, look at how many first party games that Microsoft has now, right?
Mhm.
And we're talking about there was a new Doom this year, there was Avowed, there was Tony Hawk's 3 and 4, there's going to be Black Ops 7, there's going to be Outer Worlds 2, and I understand that not everyone will play all of those games. But my point is, that is literally just first party, right? And then we've got like Ninja Gaiden 4, and we've got other, like, there's so many things on this service that, to be honest, the people that are saying this service only has 1 or 2 good things a year, I would argue if that's the case, then this service isn't for you anyway, and you
neither are
should.
video games.
Yeah, because that's just, quite frankly, like, it's not even an opinion at that point. That is something that factually isn't true. Like, I don't think anyone in their right mind would say, oh, this service, even if you only played 2 games on it a year, no one could honestly say it only has 2 good games on it. There are games on Game Pass that I haven't played because they don't speak to me, but that doesn't mean I don't think that they're a good game for someone else, and I think it, like, some of this stuff, like I said, I think you nailed it on the head earlier, Jeff, when you said it's bandwagon jumping, right? And I'm going to open up the Xbox app right now on PC because I've got my other monitor over here, and we'll look what is on Game Pass, right?
Yeah, like I don't even use the PC aspect of it. I just use the day one games and all the Xbox stuff.
Yeah.
Like the one thing that I think that does suck though is the inability now to spend reward points on Xbox Game Pass.
That I think sucks. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And then the lack of discounts for the add-on stuff now has been removed as well too.
Yeah.
But they've supplemented that instead, that every purchase you make on Game Pass or Xbox or whatever earns you now reward dollars to put that money back into other games, which
yes.
I get it. But I still think that they should have kept those particular perks, I think, available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like the 3 games they're advertising currently as coming soon to Game Pass are Ninja Gaiden 4, Outer Worlds 2, and Call of Duty Black Ops 7, right?
Yeah.
Just to give you some perspective, Ninja Gaiden 4 and Outer Worlds 2 release within a week of each other. Okay?
Yeah.
So in a week, you've got 2 AAA games releasing on the service, and then 2 weeks after that, you've got one of the biggest games every year releasing on the service. Like, yeah, it's.
Yeah. I still have to go back and beat Black Ops 6 campaign.
Yeah, you should, because we can play 7 in co-op, so that'll be That would be cool. But yeah, there's so many games on here. Like if I look at the recently added, obviously right now it's filled with the Ubisoft stuff and everything. But I know for a fact that there's lots of Ubisoft games that people haven't played that they might want
Riders
to.
Republic is great.
Yeah. So, and then like they had the shadow drop of Hogwarts Legacy on the service the other day. So it's there is value to be had here, even at the increased price.
Yeah.
And I would just say to people, my one piece of advice to people would be, don't jump on the bandwagon. Sit down, figure out how much you use the service, and then figure out whether it's worth it to you or not. Because every individual person will have a different answer to that question based on their circumstances. I mentioned it earlier, right? But one of my friends, if it was just him using the service, he'd probably cancel it. But the fact that he has 2 children that use it nearly every single day as well, and they have hundreds of games that they can choose to play from, it's like he said to me, he would never be able to afford to buy them the amount of games they actually play on the service. Because there's a cost of living crisis in the world, and I know that some people will use that as, but surely that means that increasing the price of the service is bad. And it's like, yeah, you could argue that, but then some people would argue that because of a cost of living crisis, this is actually a much more affordable way for them to access their games, because not everybody has the spare income to be like, yeah, I'm going to drop $80 on Black Ops 7, but they might have enough spare income to be like, yeah, I can pay $30 every month. They might not have enough spare income to buy a full priced game every month.
A full price Call of Duty is almost 3 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah, precisely. So I really think that people aren't looking at the actual big picture here, and they're looking at the fact that, oh, the service has gone up in price, that is bad and we should complain. And it's like, but you should only complain if it means that the service is no longer representing good value for money for you as an individual. And I'm never against people voting with their wallets, which is why I said, if it's not worth it for you, cancel, right? If it's not worth it for you, cancel it. I absolutely support that.
But just
decision.
Don't go on social media and announce your exit. Not a living soul cares.
They don't care about social media.
If you don't have Game Pass, they don't care if you subscribe to Game Pass. They don't care if you've left Game Pass. No one literally cares.
And the only way, to be quite frank, to get a little bit businessy about this before we move on to some other news, the only way that Microsoft is going to care is if the amount of people that cancel outweighs the... Because basically, this price increase, I guarantee you now that their money people would have expected, okay, this price increase is probably going to result in a certain percentage of cancellations.
Yeah.
But they also know that the price increase covers those cancelled subscriptions and more for all the people that stay, right? So it's a mathematical equation, basically. And that's why I say that all you can do is figure it out on your own terms of whether it's worth it to you, cancel it if it isn't, and then if enough people cancel it, they will take notice, because they take notice of money. And if this...
One thing that they could have done that would have smoothed over a lot of this is if you have Game Pass Ultimate, you get the add-ons free.
Yes. Yeah. I agree.
Like that would have been like an absolute master stroke of okay, how do we increase that value?
And there's another way. I actually think there's a few ways. I think another way they could have smoothed this over, and I spoke about this on the Outer Haven Spectator Mode podcast the other day, but if you had allowed almost like a choose your own Game Pass type of thing, where you can pick and choose the parts that you want, and then you get a certain price. So let's say you didn't want Fortnite Crew, you can take that out of your subscription, and maybe it knocks the price down by $5 per month, right?
Yeah, I don't
Maybe,
know if an a la carte system is really like something that could work.
yeah, it would be hard to do for sure, but I think, and then the other thing, which I think is a little bit of a miss, because I think they could have done this. I actually do think they could have probably had a discussion and made a deal for this. If it was not just Ubisoft Plus Classics and it was full on Ubisoft Plus, then I think that there would be a different conversation here. Because
also, do you think EA Play is going to stick around for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate?
I think it will. But I know some people think it's gonna leave. I think it. The reason I think it will stick around is because EA games are in a strange place where I've mentioned it before with the EAFC franchise, right? Of yeah, on Game Pass that doesn't come to the EA Play Vault until about 6 months to 8 months after it's released.
Yeah.
But what does happen is people that then play it through that instead of buying the game spend money on microtransactions in Ultimate Team, right? And how many of those people that play it through that service would not have even bought it or played it otherwise? You know, because there will be some of those people, and yet if they're playing the game, they're more likely to spend money. So I do think there's, you know, I think there's advantages for EA to stay on the service. Like I said, I find the Ubisoft thing a bit weird. So for people that don't know, you can actually get the full Ubisoft Plus service on Xbox, and the full Ubisoft Plus service gives you every single Ubisoft game day one, including all of the DLC for all of their games. So it's actually quite a good service, but as an individual cost. So, for example, I signed up to it a while ago, but the one issue they have is on Ubisoft Plus, they don't have a console specific tier for the subscription. So you have to get either Ubisoft Classics, which costs like, I think it's $5.99 a month or something like that, or you can get the full fat Ubisoft Plus, but that includes the PC and Xbox access for like £15 a month or something like that. And I think that if they had done it where this was the full fat Ubisoft Plus joining into Game Pass, since you have to have the full fat version of the subscription to use it on Xbox anyway, I think that actually that could have been quite a boon for them to be like, if you're a fan of Ubisoft games, you now get every single one of these day one, and it includes the DLC.
Yeah.
Especially with the Assassin's Creed Shadows DLC just releasing as well. They could have timed it quite well of like, if you haven't played Assassin's Creed Shadows, play it now and then play the DLC day one. I think there would have been some cool things they could have done with that. But, you know, I want to give Microsoft a little bit of credit, because what I will say about Microsoft is, yes, they're a greedy company and they definitely have made some wrong decisions in the past. And I'm not saying that this is the right decision, but what I will say is history also shows us that they do genuinely listen, because when they tried to double the price of Xbox Live Gold, for example, what happened? They did it, and within a week, they reversed their decision because they realized that everyone was just not going to pay that. Do you know what I mean?
See, like, I could see them like reversing and putting it down to $25.
Yeah, I could see them doing something like that. So just vote with your wallets, hope for the best, and you know, if it isn't worth it for you, it isn't worth it for you. And if it isn't worth it for enough people, they'll probably change this decision slightly, but they'll go with whatever the majority are feeling, right? So So just beware that maybe, like, it might not be worth it for you, but there are millions of people out there that it will still be worth it for. And I think we need to bear that in mind when we're having these kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
But for now, I think we should move on to some more gaming news, Jeff. Because we obviously want to get to talking what we've been playing as well. So, what do we have up next on the gaming news?
Well, keeping on track with kind of where we were going here with Ubisoft. Ubisoft's new Tencent-backed subsidiary has officially started its first day of operations. VGC understands that Ubisoft informed staff on Wednesday that the new subsidiary will be called Vantage Studios and has started work under the leadership of co-CEOs Christophe Derens and Charlie Guillemot. The name Vantage Studios is said to have been chosen by employees via vote and includes Ubisoft's teams in Montreal, Quebec, Sherbrooke, Sangoe, Barcelona, and Sofia. The new subsidiary will oversee Ubisoft's three biggest IPs, which is Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Tom Clancy products. And while it remains part of the Ubisoft group, it will have full autonomy on each franchise's creative direction and business plan. Tencent holds a 25% stake in the new subsidiary and will act in an advisory role, Ubisoft told staff, with final creative and business decisions resting on Guillemot and Derens. Ubisoft told staff that it was shifting towards a less centralized operating model in an attempt to give creative teams more ownership over the brands that they have been working on. It's claimed that the new structure is based on the idea of creative houses, where teams will have greater control over their franchises and will be able to respond faster to player expectations. So this is kind of interesting.
Yes.
You have their three biggest IPs essentially now kind of under the control
Or their
of the
own
studio.
company. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's interesting. Definitely because we've seen a lot of the Ubisoft Assassin's Creed plans that they've been kind of doing. You have that Witch one that's going to be coming out. They're going to be expanding more on that hub type of thing.
Yeah.
Rainbow Six hasn't really had much news other than just kind of continuing to build up on Siege.
Yeah,
And,
they had they obviously recently had like a new version of Siege, Rainbow Six Siege X, it was basically their 10th anniversary updated version where they changed some of the maps and how some of the mechanics work. But that franchise has been one game for a really long time now because that game is very, very successful. And to their credit, the reason it's so successful, and Ubisoft never get this credit, which I don't understand, is they stuck with it even when it had a small player base.
mm-hmm.
And because they consistently improved the game, it's ended up being one of the most successful live service games of the last decade.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, but it is, I have some concerns over this because offshooting your three biggest IPs into a separate company, does that mean that Ubisoft itself is eventually going to go away? Like, because what do they... I know they have other IPs, don't get me wrong. They've got things like The Crew, and they've got, other smaller things like Rayman and Prince of Persia and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like, how long can Ubisoft, as its own thing, survive when this Vantage Studios, or whatever they are called, has their three biggest IPs? And while I'm not as against Tencent as some other people, because I do think there are examples where Tencent has actually been really helpful to some companies throughout the industry.
Yeah.
I do have concern over, with Tencent owning 25% of this new subsidiary at the moment, is there, we don't have the information, but my concern would be, are there clauses which mean that Tencent will eventually take over this subsidiary and own the three biggest franchises of Ubisoft? because that is not something that I would like to see happen, because it's like these franchises are the identity of the entire company. And I know that they've had an up and down history, but at least for me, and I don't know how you feel about this, Jeff, but at least for me, after Shadows and a couple of missteps last year, they kind of do feel like they're on an upward trend again. Like,
Yeah.
they feel like they're going to start being on, like, Shadows, yes, okay, it had some stupid controversy before it came out because people were being stupid. I'll be quite frank about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I don't want to play as this black man because he was real. We know he was real. Like,
Yeah, he's been in like 16 other video games. Like, I don't know what more you want.
So yeah, that was just people being stupid. But I think that overall, that game was actually received very positively and came across as a good step in the right direction for the Assassin's Creed franchise. Obviously, their DLC hasn't been received quite as positively, but I also think it's a typical DLC problem where for some people that have covered that DLC, it falls into the bracket of, oh, this is just more of the other game, so why is it, you know? I would like to see them do more with Tom Clancy stuff because there's a lot of Tom Clancy stuff out there that they can do. Like, I want to see where Ghost Recon is going to go in the future. We haven't had a Ghost Recon game for several years now. I really am waiting to see Splinter Cell return, obviously. And we know that that is being worked on, the remake of the original Splinter Cell game. But I think that this could be a positive thing. But I definitely have some apprehension over it, is what I would say.
Yeah.
So moving forward, what else do we have to talk about, Jeff?
All right. Let's see what we got here. We have the unfortunate news that Avalanche Studios is closing its Liverpool studio and facing layoffs across the company following the cancellation of Contraband. In light of current challenges to our business and the industry, we have thoroughly reviewed how to best ensure Avalanche Studios Group's long-term success. This review has led us to the difficult conclusion that we must make changes to our staging and locations. As a result, we are proposing to close our Liverpool studios and to initiate a collective consultant process as required by UK law. This will impact all Avalanchers in Liverpool. The changes will also impact our studio locations in Malmo and Stockholm, where we will reduce our workforce and restructure the team to address our game's needs. Avalanche is best known for the studio behind the Just Cause series, and Contraband was set to offer co-op open-world games set in the 1970s. However, although the game was originally announced with a cinematic trailer during the 2021 E3 presentation, nothing has been seen in 4 years since that initial reveal. So, as you know, Microsoft canceled Contraband before we even got to even see what it was. And now, so Avalanche Studios basically is kind of in free fall from this and having to deal with a lot of layoffs and whether or not the studio is even going to kind of exist going forward. Yes. So this kind of sucks.
And it will, yeah, because look, have Avalanche ever made the best games ever? No. But I think they do have a history of making very good video games, you know?
And they're kind of fan loved. Like the Just Cause series is, you know, a kind of a good example of kind of like the best their studio kind of does. So yeah, it kind of sucks seeing this kind of go on. Just because of, you know, the pedigree of the studio. They make extremely fun games, and you put that in a co-op session. And that could have been something extremely cool. Are you on?
There we go. My mic wouldn't turn off the mute then. I was muted. It was like, oh. But yeah, I totally agree with what you just said. So I'm hoping they can recover from this and, you know, see, like, I want to see what they do in the future. I hope they survive. What have we got next, Jeff?
All right, so we'll do that's this one here. So, Electronic Arts has confirmed that it will be acquired by a group of private investors, including Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund. In a statement, ES said that it's entered into a definitive agreement to be acquired by an investor consortium comprised of PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners. The all-cash transaction values EA at around $55 billion and will see the consortium acquiring 100% of the company. EA stockholders will receive $210 per share in cash, which is a 25% premium on the company's last unaffected share price of $168.32 and a premium on its all-time highest share price of $179.01. EA has said the transaction will be approved by its board of directors and is expected to close in quarter one of fiscal 2027, meeting by the end of June 2026, positions EA to accelerate innovation and growth to build the future of entertainment. So there's a lot going on here. I know that a lot of people are worried, basically, that this fund essentially is through Saudi Arabia, so the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and you've also got Jared Kushner is part of this thing as well too. Like, there's a lot of very controversial hands being kind of dipped into this cookie jar.
There are political reasons that people do not like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same reason with the WWE and like their efforts with Saudi. Like, Saudi's trying to get a lot of entertainment into kind of its grasps. I mean, the SNK had its last fighting game. I'm trying to remember, not King of Fighters, but it's Fatal Fury, which included a lot of DLC characters that were very well popularized with the Saudi people. So a lot of people are worried that EA is going to have appearances by all these DJs and soccer players, and like certain music selections now are going to be essentially like limited to certain aspects of what Saudi culture loves. Like, there's a lot of kind of worry that we're going to get things in gaming that we generally don't want, or that monetization might get crazier.
And I can absolutely understand that worry. Don't get me wrong. I can absolutely understand that worry, and I think it's one of those things where we have to keep an eye on it, and we have to just wait and see what happens, right? Because at the same time, this isn't just the Saudis owning this. This isn't just the PIF, which is Saudi's public investment fund, right? Who, for football fans, also own Newcastle United, a football team here in the UK. It's not just them on their own, and because there are other investors involved, I don't think it's quite the same situation as some of the other things. For example, they've got Riyadh Season where they do like the WWE stuff, they do boxing events, but that is stuff that is fully run and paid for by them, and nobody else is really involved, right?
I mean, they're paying $350 million next year to have, or whatever, to have the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania for the following year. So that's insane.
So it's one of those things where when something is fully paid for by them, yes, I think the concern is warranted. I do have some hope that with other investors involved that are not just the PIF, it maybe won't affect things quite as much. And the reason I have that hope, for people who are unfamiliar, is, as I said, the PIF do own Newcastle United here in the UK. But they aren't the only owners of Newcastle United. So it's not like they've gone and signed loads of players from Saudi Arabia and done all these weird things, right? They're running it as a football team. And they've made their away kit green, like a shade of green and things like that. But who cares? Like, that's an away kit color, you know? It's not like that's not having a huge impact on the identity of the football club itself, right? And what I'm trying to say is, yes, gaming is different, But there is also a chance that this could just mean that EA carries on as it already is in many ways, and they don't really change that much at all. Like,
well, I mean, I could see them probably trying to increase monetization to kind of like recap some of that money.
yes,
Um, I mean, some EA games are already tapped to the point of exhaustion when it comes
they
to
are.
microtransactions.
They are, yeah.
Um, I mean, it could like I just hope that the kind of like the Saudi beliefs and stuff don't kind of like bleed into some of the games and stuff in regards to
Yeah.
kind of like like women, like they have a completely different culture
Yeah.
around
Like,
presentation and all that kind of stuff.
for example, if they remove female soccer players from the EAFC franchise, that's not going to go down very well. And I'm not
No.
saying that that is what they're going to do,
Or
but
even
if
like
they,
female soldiers, like just female characters generally in a playable state.
yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see, and it is something worth keeping an eye on. But I'm always open-minded to the fact that maybe it won't have as much of an effect as we think, because I think that part of Saudi's approach to what they're doing is also about kind of endearing themselves to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
That's the nice way to put it, is like, so I actually think that they won't want to interfere too much because they know that if they do, it will get a backlash.
But I mean, like, how do you like? Okay, like the one thing that concerns me as well too is you have um, Call of Duty, which can
Yes.
generally lead to I'm sorry, not Call of Duty, a Battlefield, which can lead
Yes.
to a bunch of like worldwide war things and stuff like that. So suddenly, how do you kind of like tackle the oh, buddy,
Banter has Banter heard battle and
like
he
how do
thought
you
you wanted to
tackle like a
fight.
lot of like who do you go after in the war and the stories and stuff like that? Is a lot of that Saudi controlled as well?
True, true. I mean, what I will say, I agree with that. But what I will say is that in a lot of FPS games in recent years, we've seen a situation where a lot of the time the the antagonist of the stories will be some sort of fictional thing that is
Yeah, but
referencing.
they still kind of have a basis in reality, right?
Yeah,
So like does the next battlefield take place in like Saudi Arabia, but like the US government is like working with them as their good guys? Like does that kind of
I know
push
what
into
you mean.
that?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And like I said, all of that stuff I think is definitely stuff we need to keep an eye on. I will say that I'm not quite as hard on this as maybe some other people, as I don't see it inherently bad. So there is one thing that is a piece of information that's being overlooked here. As part of this deal, from my understanding, they are being taken off of the stock market and they're becoming an entirely private company.
Yeah.
Um, and what I think is good about that is that when you are a private company, you have less people to answer to, right? So, yes, they'll still have their shareholders and whatever,
Yeah.
but it does mean, and it could mean potentially, that the creative people might even end up getting more freedom than they currently have because they won't have to do things that is answering to public shareholders and answering to the effects of the public market, right? Whereas
Yeah.
when you're on whereas when you're on the stock market, something that a company does that isn't even your company can affect what your company has to do because of how it can affect your own share prices, and when you're private, that same thing doesn't really happen. So I think that, I'm not saying it will, but I think there's a chance that EA going back to being a private company could actually be a really positive thing, um, for the developers potentially. Uh, Obviously, I have concerns because with acquisitions like this, it often means that lots of people will lose their jobs as the new owners try and figure out ways to cut costs to make the company even more profitable, to more
Agile and flexible.
yeah, to more quickly recoup the money that they've paid for the company. Basically, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
But I think that, this is a thing we have to wait and see. This is going to go through next year, and it is going to go through. This will not be blocked because, unlike the Microsoft Activision situation, this is a company being acquired by by other investors, let's say, that are not currently involved directly in gaming, and they're taking the company private. It's not like they're buying the company and keeping them on the stock market. And that is when your regulators and things have to be a lot more hot on it and a lot more involvement, because that can affect other things, right? So, for example, even when Activision got acquired, if they were being acquired by some private Joe down the road that's a billionaire, and he said, "Yeah, I'm going to take this company private," it literally would have gone through straight away, because there wouldn't have been any concern about anything. So I don't expect this deal will face any problems, really, apart from maybe some political opposition to it because of the PIF's involvement. Other than that, it's going to go through next year, and then it will probably take us a couple of years to see the real impact of what this ownership change brings. And it's something we'll keep an eye on and report on as things happen in the future. But what else do we have here, Jeff? As we have about 40 minutes left of this episode.
Sure. We'll kind of go through this one fairly quick here. So the director of Street Fighter 6 says he was shocked to discover that Capcom will be charging fans up to $40 to watch online streams of upcoming tournament finals. It was announced during last week's Tokyo Game Show that the finals of Capcom Cup 12 and the SFL World Championship would be streaming live via pay-per-view. Fans who wanted to watch the tournament finals online will have to pay about $27 US to watch Capcom's 12 finals on March 14th, $27 to watch the SFL World Championships on March 15th. And alternatively, a bundle is available for $40 that allows them to watch both finals. So, here's the one thing that's really funny is the announcement that was met with backlash from Street Fighter fans angry that they were being charged with the $40 to stream an event that should be bringing the community together, especially when merchandise for such events is often sold at the venue and online. Street Fighter 6 director Takayuki Nagayama has now revealed on X that he had no idea about the decision to charge players to watch streams, and that he and producer Shuhei Matsumoto have both found out while they were at Tokyo Game Show themselves.
That's crazy.
Now, he's commented as well too on there that he had no idea. He hopes that something is rectified on it, because you get people like Maximilian Dude, which kind of stream those things to 14, 15,000 people that are watching. Is you get more people interested into esports, the less friction it is to get into esports.
Yeah.
And it's just it's such a weird thing, since those shows are all about bringing the community together. They're about showcasing the games, showcasing the players, and no one in their right mind is going to essentially purchase these things for showings on their own. They want to share them with the community. You have thousands of Twitch streamers that kind of share these types of things with their viewers, watch them with their viewers. People love seeing Maximilian Dude's reactions to certain moves and stuff, and you're not going to get that now.
Yeah, this is really weird, and I think that all I would say on it is not everything needs to be monetized, and there are, like you said, Jeff, you rounded up very well there, that allowing people to watch these kind of events with as little friction as possible has a positivity for the company, because it brings more eyes to their games that are on display in these tournaments. it brings potentially more players to play in the future in these tournaments and things like that, right? So I don't. I think this is a terrible decision, and I also think the fact that the people who made the game don't even know what's going like
Because
that's
like
really
it's
bad.
well, they're like completely different divisions, right? Because like esports generally falls under a lot of like the marketing kind of budgets through
Yes.
Capcom, and a
Hmm.
lot of people assume that like, oh, is it Capcom not making enough money? It's like Monster Hunter Wild's bringing a ton of money, so surely they can put that in the Street Fighter. That's not how any of that works.
No. Yeah. No.
So like, yeah, it's so weird that there's such a detachment from it because like honestly, they could have just sold an esports costume bundle and recouped most of the costs just from that within Street Fighter 6,
Yes. Yeah.
right? So like there's just very very weird things where the teams are just not working together to kind of get that revenue that probably would have benefited from this
Hmm.
because you could have put esports costumes in Street Fighter 6. Hell, you could have put esports costumes in Monster Hunter Wilds. Like
That's true.
there's
That's
so
true.
much
They had other
marketing.
ways. They had
Yeah.
other ways to make this money. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, like it's very very weird that they're kind of doing this because esports are generally about bringing the community together on games. There are games that have succeeded specifically just because of esports.
Yeah.
Like
I'll ask you a question. Would League of Legends be as big as it is without esports?
I don't think any professional kind of like thing like StarCraft, like it remained in the public eye so much because of esports.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's the I this decision genuinely baffles me.
Yeah.
That's all I can really say about it. It's baffling, and I hope that they decide to reverse it or find some other way. Because I get it, companies have to make money, but you just said right there, you could do it through cosmetics and make basically the same money, and be much less invasive about it. It's crazy to me. It's
Hmm.
crazy. Like when you first said this news, like when we were preparing for the show, I literally looked it up myself because I couldn't believe that it was a real thing that was happening. Like it's nuts. It's really
Yeah.
nuts. Anyway, do before we get to what we've been playing, do we have anything else?
The only other news I was going to mention basically is that Walter Goggins' character from Fallout 76 or Fallout the show is going to be in Fallout 76, which is like decades before the show. So that could be interesting. They could be tying some storyline stuff there, but that's just kind of a
Yeah.
neat thing.
And I also like that character, so yeah, that's just cool. Like that is just cool. And I still want to go back and play some Fallout 76 one of these days because I do hear that they've massively improved the game. So I wonder whether that franchise is going to see another spike again when the next season of the show comes out. That's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah.
But for now, let's get into what we've been playing, and I'll go first because I have much less than you, so it won't take me very long because I'm currently playing one thing that I can't tell you about at all, other than to say that there will be a review of this thing that I'm playing on the Outer Haven in the near future. I can't even tell you exactly when it will be, but it will be in the near future. Um, and I've played a couple of other things. So I mentioned before on the last episode that I've been jumping into some sort of retro JRPGs and kind of discovering that franchise a little bit more. And I've been having some good recommendations from our friend Scott Adams at the Outer Haven.
I still think Chained Echoes should be on your list.
So he absolutely, yeah. So he gave me the same recommendation, and he was like, "You have to play this game." He was like, "It's the most." He said it's probably the most overlooked within the genre in the last few years,
Yeah.
and yet it's one of the
The
best
DLC is
games
not
that you
the
can play.
DLC is not worth it at
Okay,
all.
that's
But the
good
main
to
game
know.
is fantastic.
That's good to know. But so I did pick up just to try something a bit different as well because I've always heard that this game was beloved. I picked up recently Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles. And
Okay.
this is a different kind of game, obviously, but it's a much more tactical RPG, as the name would suggest. They've added English voice acting. Ben Starr is in it. I love Ben Starr. I'm a big fan of his. I've only played a bit of it so far, but what I would say is I do like it. It's a different style of JRPG because of that tactical gameplay rather than traditional turn-based gameplay in a way that you might expect.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me a little bit of like XCOM, for example, um, because it's sort of more grid-based, and you have to be in a certain position to do certain things, and you have to think a lot more deeply about what you're doing. I've played a few other things. I continue to play EAFC 26. I have now played more hours in the 2 weeks since that game's release on just PC than I did in last year's game across all platforms. So what I would say is if you're still a little bit apprehensive on EAFC 26, given kind of recent entries into the franchise, I absolutely would recommend it, and I continue to play it, and I will be continuing to play it for weeks and months to come, because it's just the gameplay is so much better than it has been in recent years, and it has seen big improvements. I, of course, have a review for that game over on the Outer Haven, but we do have a review coming soon for it from my partner Letitia, who reviewed NBA 2K for us this year. She will be reviewing FC. The reason she hasn't completed it and published it yet is she's actually really unwell at the moment. But she will have it. She will have it up and available soon. Other than that, there's one other thing, and I mentioned it briefly before, but I did start playing Ghost of Yotei, which I'm going to review for the Outer Haven, because I've been on deck for that for a while. We unfortunately didn't get a code, so I purchased the game myself. Interesting story. I actually originally purchased the collector's edition, but the delivery company seemed to have lost it, or it's been stolen or something.
Oh shit.
So I'm going through a process with that right now. But in the meantime, I was like, okay, I'll just purchase the digital version of the game, and then if I do eventually get my hands on the collector's edition, I will have a PlayStation UK code that I can give away here on the podcast to people for them to play it, because you will have to have a UK-based PlayStation account. There are ways to do that, of course. Yes. Just like how I do have an account PlayStation US, so potentially we might have some access to a game to give you. But there will be a game that I'm giving away a code for soon, but I can't even tell you what that game is, because it would spoil something that's coming up soon from me. So yeah, let's just say that there's a game that I should be getting multiple codes for, and I have asked them specifically about a giveaway code as well. So hopefully we'll have a nice giveaway this month. But yeah, what I would say on Ghost of Yotei, initial impressions, I've only played about an hour or so because I am on quite a tight embargo for something else at the moment. But the opening is really cool. You get into the story and the action of the game much more quickly than you do with Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay.
There are definitely similarities. Like the gameplay, at least initially, feels almost identical in many ways to Ghost of Tsushima, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And yeah, like I like it. I like it. I wouldn't say I'm in love with it yet, but I also haven't played much of it, right? It's very cinematic. It's very it's a beautiful game. Their art direction at Sucker Punch is incredible. and you do get some early shots that are just like, oh my god, I can't even believe this this game. Do you know what I mean? Like it's mind blowing, quite frankly. Some of these visuals, but what I would say, and I think a lot of people have said this, I think IGN might have even said this. The initial setup for the story, at least, very much made me feel like, oh, this is basically Assassin's Creed Shadows story from earlier this year, but told in a slightly different way. So as I play more of it, I'm going to be really interested to see kind of the similarities in those stories, and also how Atsu approaches it in a different way. Because for people that don't know, and if you want no spoilers, please move away for about 2 minutes here. But the basic setup of the story is you play as Atsu, who is a female Ronin of sorts. She's going around, she's out for revenge against a group of people called the Ep.66, who, for one reason or another, murdered her family, and actually tried to kill her as well. I haven't figured out what that reason is yet. I'm way too early in the game, but that is the basic premise of the game. And yeah, it's a revenge journey, and she doesn't. That means, what I will say is something I've noticed very early on, is it means that she doesn't have the same internal conflict as a character that someone like Jin Sakai in Ghost of Tsushima had, right? Because the thing about Jin was he had to choose to basically betray his honor or keep his honor and do what was best for his island, right? And how you choose to play that game did have a somewhat effect on Jin as a character. Jin, there was a character development with Jin that I'm not sure I'm going to get with Atsu at the moment, and it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. I'm sure that we will also have coverage on Analog Stick Gaming at some point as well. I believe Jeff might even play it for us if we can get that sorted. And yeah, we'll see what happens there. But that is what I've been playing, other than one thing which will lead nicely into what you've been playing, Jeff, which is I played the first hour or so of Dying Light the Beast, but you've played a lot more of it. So why don't you tell us about Dying Light the Beast?
Sure. So 1 second, I'm just going to move away from Clip Studio here because I've been making the thumbnail.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm a few hours into Dying Light the Beast. It's Dying Light. This takes the character from the first game and kind of brings him back into the series. And yeah, like it feels just like Dying Light. That doesn't feel like they've advanced anything. It feels exactly how it is. Like if you like Dying Light, you're gonna like this game. I think the turning into a beast thing and like slashing at people and stuff, I think it has its appeal. There's basically kind of like this thing where you hunt down these chimera, which give you then other abilities on the skill tree. I still find it weird that there's no ability on the skill tree whatsoever to collect items from an enemy that you've killed. You have to constantly look down and then search. So if you set like 10 enemies on fire, you're spending the next 2 minutes picking up shit. I wish there was a more streamlined way to do that. I wish all of the climbing was third person like Indiana Jones, because the climbing is incredibly bad. Like you're trying to like grapple on the things and then climb up, and then sometimes he'll grab a thing and you go to jump and then he'll like wall run instead and then skip it and miss it, and it's just the climbing is just not fun. Everything else about the game is fine. Weapons degrade after time. You can repair them only so many times. The storyline basically is a revenge thing against a guy who's been torturing him, and then you get out and you have to try and find him.
And he is the character from the original Dying Light, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Yeah.
So what I like about that is that means, I would imagine, that if you haven't played Dying Light 2, because I know that some people didn't, but maybe you played the original, this might be the game for you. This if you're someone who likes the story and lore, this probably will be an interesting game for you. What I will say though is, and I know you feel the same about this, Jeff, just from the initial hour I played of this game, something about it feels old.
Yeah, it feels incredibly dated.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, it just doesn't feel quite right to play. It's like it's something is a bit off about it. What would you say? Obviously we're being quite negative about it right now. Is there anything in particular that you like about the game? Something?
Yeah, I think like the hitting of enemies still feels incredibly good.
Hmm.
Um, um, like I like the ability of like getting new outfits and stuff like that do that. I think the crafting can be kind of interesting. Um, I think visually sometimes it's fine. I like that there's vehicles that you can drive around and there's like a GPS marker on the ground that works extremely well to get where you're needing to go. I
Yes.
think nighttime still sucks. Like once you're
Yeah.
spotted by those things, you're done.
You're gonna die. Yeah, you're gonna die.
Yeah. I don't know. Like for me, it's like this is like a 6.5. I know people have been really liking it, but I mean, like, I'm just not. I don't know. I've kind of moved on from that Dying Light kind of appeal, and like when I
I
saw that there
think
was a
I'm
new
sort
one,
of in the. I think I'm sort of in the same bracket. So at least
I
from
just
what I've
wanted
initially played,
some innovation. Like it doesn't
yeah,
feel like there's
I
anything.
I feel like Dying Light 2 was more innovative than this game. And I know that this was originally supposed to be a DLC for Dying Light 2
Yeah.
because that is an important thing to say, and I can't remember which edition you need to own. But if you owned certain editions of Dying Light 2, you actually get Dying Light the Beast for free.
Okay.
Um so if this is free for you, I would still say it's absolutely worth playing, even from the small amount that I've played. Because yeah, this did start life as a DLC to Dying Light 2, and then I think they decided to expand upon it. Um, but you can certainly see that even in the early hours of the game, you can see that it's like, okay, this is a bit smaller than it's just, and like you said, there are elements of it that just feel a bit dated compared to more modern games.
Yeah.
And that it is a real shame because this is one I was really looking forward to, and I will play more of it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I definitely want to
Um,
try co-op because I think that
yeah,
there's like your stamina refills so fucking slow.
yeah, yeah.
Um, again, I
Yeah.
like the little bases that you
What's
go in and
interesting
you
about
can.
the co-op as well is it's up to 4-player co-op.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that's interesting. I learned that from my brother yesterday because he's been playing it. So I did get a code for it as well. Me and Jeff both got a code for this game. I got a code for the PC version, but I'm actually quite glad I did because although there's no crossplay at the moment, I forgot that I own Dying Light 2 on Xbox, and I own the edition that gave me Dying Light the Beast for free on Xbox. So I also have the game on Xbox, and from what I understand, there will be crossplay added eventually, but they couldn't get it running and working in the way they wanted for launch. So it's something they're working on for a later update to the game.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, there is 4-player co-op from my understanding because my brother is like, "Oh, we should get 4 of us on this," and because he really likes it, he thinks it's good. But again, he's a massive Dying Light fan, so I kind of expected that. But yeah, I would say that as Jeff said before, if you're a Dying Light fan and you want more Dying Light, you're probably going to enjoy this game. But don't go into it expecting massive overhauls to what Dying Light is, because this is still just a Dying Light game, you know? And
Yeah.
in some regard, that's a shame because you would have liked to have seen more kind of ambition, I suppose, with trying new things and doing new things. And that doesn't, at least from what I've played, it doesn't seem quite to be there in this one, unfortunately. But what else have you played, Jeff?
Let's take a look at my list here. I'm still working on the thumbnail. I've been playing a little bit of Silent Hill F. Now we've got Rebecca working on the review right now. She's
Yes.
pretty far into it while she plays in Pet Sugar.
And the reason Jeff's looking over there is because she's sat over there somewhere.
Yeah, so yeah, we've been playing Silent Hill F. I've played probably a few hours of it. I would say I'm probably maybe a third through the game.
Okay.
And it's been pretty good so far. Again, I need to play more of it to kind of solidify whether or not it just feels like Silent Hill, or if it's just it could have been its own franchise. I don't know yet.
Yeah,
But,
so that was a
yep.
discussion I actually had with one of my colleagues at the Outer Haven, Carl, who reviewed the game over at the Outer Haven.
Yeah.
And he said that he was, even early on in the game, he was very much like, is this a Silent Hill game? And that's because for him, for people who don't know, Silent Hill F isn't based in Silent Hill, right? It's based in Japan somewhere, and it's a much more Japanese game. And for him, he was very much of the mind of, but Silent Hill, the town, is as much of a part of what Silent Hill is as the style of game. And so yeah, I'll be interested to hear what you think about whether you feel it's really a Silent Hill game as you play more of it, for sure.
Yeah, so far it is extremely good. There's one character that you'll meet that you'll want to beat the ever loving hell out of. Yeah, hit her with a pipe. We were thinking of getting Analog's game shirts made.
Is it the one that pushes you down the stairs?
Yeah.
Because I've seen that bit. So that's all I've seen so far.
Yeah. We were thinking of having a picture of her to the side and being like, I want to hit her with a steel pipe so bad. It's like a t-shirt. But no, it is super good so far. I've been watching her play, and there's a lot of crazy shit that happens. And when you think, I'm like, oh, how crazy could it get? Oh, it's fucked up. But no, it's been actually really, really good. I think visually it looks really, really nice. I mean, there's the atmosphere of the kind of the prefecture, of where this game kind of take place is fantastic. Like when you go into the school, some of the shots are really nice. Some of the atmosphere is just fantastic. The enemies are very cool. A lot of the enemies just kind of feel like they took the grotesque forms of all the stuff in Silent Hill and kind of gave them the choreography of a lot of the nurses.
Yeah.
So it's really neat. There's some neat puzzles that I've seen solved different ways. But no, so far it's been excellent. It's kind of weird that there's just story mode or hard mode. There's no normal.
Yes. Yeah. I know that not everybody is a fan of the weapon degradation in the game.
Yeah, the weapons do break pretty easily. But yeah, no, it's been it's been excellent so far. I think it is definitely very, very good so far that I've played and from what I've seen.
That's good. So hopefully we'll have a review for that on Analog Stick Gaming soon.
Yeah.
As you said, Becky is nearing the end of it.
Yeah,
She's
and
quite
she just wrapped up and published her review for Digimon Story Time Strangers,
nice.
Which is getting a lot of really, really good reviews.
Good. So we've got a little bit more time here, Jeff. We've got about 10 minutes or so left. What else have you played that you'd like to speak about?
We'll be covering it later once the full version comes out later this year, but I played the demo for Marvel Cosmic Invasion. So Steam Next Fest, I think the demo's out right now. I had access to it a little while ago and I played it on Steam, played on the laptop and it ran flawlessly. It looks really good. A lot of the characters are really, really nice. It pays tribute to a lot of Marvel games of the past. But no, it just feels really good. You get a tag team thing at Spider-Man and Venom going, and they swap back and forth and whatnot. And it looks really, really good. I think the animation that the team has done has been fantastic. I know Iron Man and Phoenix were kind of leaked. And then this demo doesn't have Black Panther or Silver Surfer or anything like any of the new characters. It just has, I think, 8 or 10 characters that had already released, so I haven't tried some of the other characters. But no, like I'm really excited for this game. I think it's going to be one of the best brawlers released in the last couple years. It just feels very good to play, like very good. Um, but yeah, no, it's the demo's out there. You can definitely try it. It's been just fantastic to
Good.
play. I can't wait for the full game.
So, so I haven't played it, but I've seen a bit of it, and it does look very good. I'm looking forward to playing it when it comes out, I think.
Yeah. I've been playing a lot of Hades 2. I almost beat Kronos yeah, on my one of my last attempts. I just had a really good build going, like a really good build, because I managed to get past Cerberus with still having one of my Death Defiance. I'm still waiting for that one perk that gets you 3 Death Defiances or whatever. But no, I've been really liking it. My only criticism is that it doesn't feel changed enough from the first Hades. That's my only criticism. And I mean, like when you are comparing, like the original Hades was a Game of the Year contender. It was a
Yeah,
lot of people's Game of the Year. So saying that it's more of that, that's not really an insult in terms of the game's
yeah.
quality.
It's
For
not a bad
me,
thing. It's just that it
yeah,
could have done something different,
I
right?
just kind of wish that there was like another mechanic added or something that really changed it up.
Hmm.
But it's not really there. And like I know, like a lot of people are saying, like, oh, well, the difference is you can go up now as well. And I still haven't unlocked the ability. I think I have to beat Kronos once in order to go up. I'm not sure,
Yeah, I think so. I'm
but
not sure either.
no, it's been good. I mean, I like a lot of a lot of the characters are super nice. The boss fights and stuff have been excellent. Like I can get past, I can get to Cerberus no problem now.
Nice.
But getting getting past him, um, I'm iffy on sometimes.
Yeah,
Um, but no, it's been excellent so far. I think it is very good. I'm playing it on Switch 2, and it looks
yeah,
fantastic on that screen. It runs incredibly well.
yeah. I I do like I like that they still have obviously different accessibility options as well. Like you can enable the God mode, which makes you stronger each time you die. Effectively, the game should become easier over time if you're finding it too
Yeah,
hard.
you can take up to 80%. That's where it caps out.
Yeah. Um, I will say, and I won't mention the game, but there's something that another game we've been playing does that I wish Hades did. Um, but other than that, I actually do like Hades too, and I felt I've only played a bit of it, so I haven't, you know, I haven't played too much at the moment, but I did feel exactly the same as you, even after the kind of first 3 or 4 runs. I was like, this isn't that different to Hades. Like,
Yeah.
I could have carried on playing the original Hades and still had a great experience. But again, that is not me knocking the game because it's still a brilliant video game.
Oh yeah.
It's just that in a sequel, you always hope for something a bit different, right? When a sequel is just more of the same but better, it's not always quite enough because that sounds crazy to say, like Jeff said, about a sequel to a game that was a big Game of the Year contender, won
Yeah,
many
like
awards.
the worst part about this game is it's more like a game that's absolutely amazing. You
Yeah.
know, like that's I just kind of wish there was something that just kind of gave it a little bit more identity that this was Hades 2.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I am, is I wish that there was something that set it apart enough where when you speak about, or when you look at Hades to Hades 2, for example, I think that if people didn't know, they would look and think it was the same game. Do you know what I mean? And that isn't what you want from a sequel, I think. Um, I know that the story is a bit different and things like that, but let's be honest, the majority of people that play these games do not play them for the story.
I think Hades is the exception though,
Yes, I
because
agree.
those characters have so much depth to them. I think the
Yes.
core story is probably
Yes.
something that people generally don't care about, but they generally care about like the character interactions and the
Yeah.
relationships that
And
you're
it's
building with
and
those
it's almost like
characters.
the world building, right? The world building of like
Yeah.
seeing where this character is who you play as. You do get these. One thing I do like, and I just kind of I didn't know whether they were going to do it or not, is that you get these flashback kind of sequences that you play through at
I've
certain
only had one.
times. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, there's it's interesting that they do that, because I'm like, okay, it gives you a deeper perspective on the characters and where they're coming from, because when you first start playing, you're kind of like halfway through their journey, if you like. You're like, so you haven't really seen. There's no. You don't. You don't. You get an understanding of what's going on, but you don't have a backstory really for the character that you are playing as. And when you get to see her when she was younger and certain things that she went through and stuff like that, it's like, that's cool. That's a nice bit of character building that I did really appreciate. Um, and I'll definitely be playing more of Hades 2, because, I want to beat it as many times as possible and get what I assume will be a true ending at some point. Um, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yes, I'm very along the same lines of you. This is a brilliant game. It maybe just doesn't differentiate itself enough from the first game, but for many people that will be more than enough, because the first game was amazing. So yes, that's all I really have to say on it. Do you have anything else you wanted to talk about before we end this episode here, Jeff?
I don't know. Like the last thing that I've been playing that I could just briefly talk about is Soulstone Survivors. Now
Okay.
I've got kind of on this kick of like Vampire Survivor games, and
Okay,
I'd
yeah.
heard Giant Bomb talking about this a long time ago. And Soulstone Survivors is basically just one of those. It's really nice. The powers that they give you feel generally like a spectacle. If you ever see people playing like high level Vampire Survivors, this kind of gives you that feel right off the bat. There's a ton of characters to unlock and invest into, and yeah, I've been absolutely enjoying it. But yeah, I think just kind of waiting on embargo on a few things, because there's one game in particular to talk about that is probably going to be high on each of our Game of the Year lists.
Definitely, definitely. And I won't say what the game is, but what I will say is I didn't even know this game existed until Jeff started working on it for coverage. So yeah. It's going to be an interesting time, and in the weeks ahead we should have some very interesting games to speak about. I believe that both me and Jeff will have a couple of games to speak about next week, so we might have more of a kind of what we've been playing discussion type episode, but you'll understand why when you see what that is. And then the only other thing to say is that next week's episode you might get a bit earlier in the day on Friday after we record it, because I'm actually going away, because next Sunday is my birthday. So I'm away for the weekend for my birthday. But then we'll be back with an episode the following week as well. So you're not going to miss anything because I'm away. It just means that you might get next Friday's episode a bit earlier in the day than you normally would get it, because I'm going to be publishing it and everything before I actually leave my house to go away. But yeah, for now, thank you for joining us. I've enjoyed this episode. Let us know what you think of the Xbox Game Pass situation, and if you have played any of the games that we spoke about today, let us know what you think of those games as well. Please remember that you can use our NordVPN link in the description below if you're in need of a VPN, and you will be directly supporting the site by doing so. We really would appreciate it. But for now, it's a goodbye from me, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
See you guys.